This is a big ass handheld. So I've had the Legion Go for about 2 days now, and I figured I'd dive straight into it. I'm not going to make a fancy video for you guys. I'll just skip the bullshit. Just wanted to share some of my impressions and some things that I like and dislike about the device. If you don't know what this is, the Legion Go is just another portable gaming PC, but this one's got some detachable controllers. I can show off that feature in a little bit. If you've followed my Ally content, I'll tell you performance is not as identical as I thought it'd be, given the identical specs, but slightly faster RAM. I imagine after some firmware updates, we should be good to go. And yeah, everything will be smoothened out eventually. I'll be taking some requests for gameplay videos. I can't promise I'll be cranking them out as fast as my little ROG Manic episode, but I'll do my best. But yeah, let's start off with things that I do like. The overall feel of the plastic is much better than I thought in some of the preview videos. I was thinking it was going to be extremely smudgy. I'm very anal about just like wiping my hands and washing my hands. I use alcohol wipes all the time just to keep my fingertips pretty clean. But even when there's been quite a bit of oil, I haven't really seen much smudging as I thought. And it's easily wipeable. I use an alcohol wipe a lot for these things. Very sturdy, feels very premium. The size and the weight is very notable. I have relatively small to medium hands, but it's not overwhelming for me. Considering that this thing is just under 2 pounds, it doesn't feel all too heavy just because the weight's distributed pretty evenly. I've had some longer gaming sessions, well, long for me, maybe a couple hours, and doesn't really feel all that heavy. I play laying down a lot, and I rest the bottom kind of like that on my stomach or my chest. And it's fine. That's to be expected for a device like this. And I've really been appreciating the 8.8-inch screen. It actually exceeded my expectations. Being this large, it feels really immersive. I'm usually not a fan of like big ass devices, but it's kind of cool to be able to sit with this thing in bed and play on a much larger screen compared to the 7 inches on the Ally. Overall, I mean, it's a very fast display. Colors look great. Nothing's too washed out, and I'm kind of a stickler for saturation. I honestly thought I was gonna like the touchpad a lot more. It's nice and responsive, but I don't use it a whole lot. It's kind of at a weird angle if you're holding it like this, and then you bring your finger down. It's kind of awkward. I'd rather just touch whatever's on the screen and deal with the fingerprints later. But this does come in a pinch if you need to click something like really precise, but generally, I mean, I feel like I can get to everything with my fingers on the screen. So yeah, the touchpad is a nice plus to have. You double tap to click and stuff, and I think dragging is a weird, let's see here. Yeah, you just double tap and hold to drag, and yeah, it's cool, but I don't really care for this feature as much as I thought I would. The buttons feel really good. These are very similar to an Xbox style buttons as far as the shape goes, and the rubber membrane feels just as firm as an Xbox, maybe like slightly less travel. Analog sticks are really good, just as light as the ROG Ally. They're not too high, and I kind of like that feeling when they're a little bit closer to the board. But yeah, no complaints there. The bumpers are cool. You can press them from all angles here. I have no complaints. Now the triggers I really like. There's a lot of depth to them. They feel very similar to like the Aya Neo 2, if anybody's ever tried those. A lot of travel and depth, and they feel really, really comfortable because of this like huge slope here. So I actually really like those. Buttons are all clicky. Menu buttons, I don't need to go over all that crap with you guys. Start, select. D-pad, I'm not like a huge fan of. It's really flat. It's not as clicky as what some of other early videos suggested. It's not very audible in my opinion. So I have no complaints about that, but the general feel it's kind of odd because it's really flat. It doesn't feel like a whole lot of travel. Tiny clicks. One thing that I noticed right off the bat that I really don't like is all these extra buttons. I understand there's some function to them. I'm probably never going to program these to anything. It's a nice touch, but yeah, they're whatever. The back buttons are cool. I can see myself if I really needed to add some extra hotkeys or something like that, I'd maybe program them, but they're nice and accessible. This one on the right side, you have to kind of push with the inside of your finger and then just reach here, but you get used to that pretty quickly. Yeah, to be honest, never going to use them. One thing that I noticed right away that I really actually disliked is these side buttons over here. when I'm holding the controller, I mean, these aren't programmed to anything, but I'm pressing them all the time as I'm holding the device, and it feels like I'm gonna have some kind of accidental inputs. I mean, it shouldn't be too big of an issue long term, but yeah, I just didn't like that sensation of pressing a button on this side accidentally as I'm holding the controller. It doesn't have that on this side, but yeah, something to note. Now, for the major feature that everybody's talking about is the detachable controllers. It was a weird motion to get the hang of like right away, but yeah, you kind of just push this thing in and then you pull straight down. Putting them on, I mean, that's a nice firm click and you can feel it detach, but when you end up putting it back on, it's kind of weird. You push it in and then you like push it up. It's not like as a firm click, so it feels like I'm playing with like an old Nerf gun from when I was a kid. I don't know if that, never mind, just ignore me. You can detach the controllers. And what's cool is it has a little kickstand that's actually really sturdy. Like the resistance on this is really, really firm. You know, it's not going to break right away, and it'll last you for quite some time. But yeah, you can have it stand up like this as an individual tablet type of way if you wanted to. The only time I can actually see myself using it like a tablet is if for whatever reason I just wanted to chill in bed and maybe watch something on here or scroll the internet, but I wouldn't really use that. I have other tablets for that. Admittedly, the only thing I would probably play in tablet mode is Pixelborn. If you guys don't know what that is, look it up. That's my little nerdy obsession right now. So yeah, I use this to play a little bit. Let's talk about the most unique feature, which is using this thing in FPS mode, which turns this into a mouse. You guys know all about that feature if you've seen other videos or been following it. You just place it in this little thing. It's got a magnet, and it's just an odd thing. You know, I don't play a lot of shooters. Oh shit, let me get this mouse pad. I don't play a lot of shooters, but I can see this being somewhat accurate. Here's the thing though, I recognize that people who play first-person shooters use their huge mouse pads and they have these huge giant movements like that. I'm definitely not that type of player. I don't move my arm. I like fine little tiny movements. I like to use my my mouse like this and kind of just move with my wrist. It's not the same. You can't really get that, in my opinion. Maybe you can. I feel like the only way to get that precise movement with just wrist action is if you put your pinky on the surface and kind of held it a little bit lower. That seems to work, but in comparison to doing this, I just can't see myself using this as a mouse. It's just weird to me. Maybe it'll take some practice, but it's convenient. Sometimes if I wanted to click around without using the touchpad or touch screen, I just use this as like a normal mouse, which is cool. It's a nice, neat little feature, but I don't really see myself using it. Obviously, you can play like this in first-person shooters. This ends up getting mapped as WASD, and then this gets programmed to some of the other common keys used in first-person shooters, and you just kind of play like this, which I have yet to test. So maybe I'll throw in some videos of that and some gameplay footage. As far as the battery life, it's drained pretty fast, but that's because I crank everything up to ultra like performance mode and throw everything on high settings. I just like to abuse my devices like that, but I feel like you can stretch it out. Battery life is a little less than 2 hours, I would say, in the medium settings. On high settings, probably about an hour or less if everything's cranked up. But yeah, like I said, if you guys have any requests for gameplay vids, go ahead and throw them up in the comments. I'll try to get to them if I can, but hopefully some of my thoughts and impressions were helpful, and feel free to watch a whole bunch of other great videos out there and content on the Lenovo Legion Go. I'm sure there's some YouTubers out there who are doing some really thorough tests and benchmarks and all that stuff, so hope you guys enjoy that. I will catch you all in the next one. Later.